I don't see Tennessee being a top 25 team this year. And I want to give my concerns that I have with the Vols going into this year for why I feel this way. Firstly, the quarterback position. This is a huge question mark, and it's not all because they lost Nico. Even if he would have stayed, I still would have had questions with this position because he wasn't that good last year. And I find it ironic how I was telling you Tennessee fans this all throughout 2024, but you guys called me a hater. But now with him being gone, you want to say, oh yeah, he was overrated, but whatever. You get Joey Aguilar, who transfers from Appalachian State, and he was pretty productive his last 2 years as a starter for App State. But going to Tennessee is going to be an adjustment period for him because you don't play quarterback in this offense the same way you would playing in a more traditional spread offense. You have to go through your reads a lot differently. Your dropbacks are a lot different than normal. You kind of got to relearn how to play quarterback when you play in this Josh Heupel system. And my biggest question isn't really, can Joey Aguilar adapt? It really is, how good is he going to be taking a step up in competition? Because anytime App State went up against Power 4 opponents, Joey Aguilar struggled. And also, can he prove to be an upgrade over Nico? You're not going to go that far this season as what you did last year if you get quarterback play that's the equivalent to what Nico gave you, because it kind of would be seen as a lateral move. And my other concerns with this offense is you lose 4 out of 5 starters off your offensive line from last year. You lost 3 of your top receivers, Deontay Thornton, Jermond McCoy, Squirrel White. You got Chris Brazzell coming back, who was a transfer that you got out of Tulane last year. He should have a breakout season along with Mike Matthews. So I don't think you're hurting too bad at wide receiver, but you definitely don't have a lot of depth at that position. And then defensively, I'm not worried about your defensive line. That should still be a strength despite you losing James Pierce Jr. and a few other talented players on that side. You rotated a lot of bodies on the D-line. So you have a lot of guys who are going to be starting this year who already were pretty productive last year. My question lies with Tennessee's secondary, though. Your start cornerback, Jermond McCoy, who was a first-team All-American last year, he tore his ACL at the start of this offseason during training, and he's expected to return, but we don't know when at this point this season he's going to return. Now, you did bring in former Colorado cornerback Colton Hood, who was really good for Coach Prime, but even with them, you still are cut short at the cornerback position. And overall, I think the ceiling for Tennessee this year is 8-4, 9-3 at best. But the floor for the Vols is 6-6. Because you are not at the level yet where you recruited well enough to simply reload. Your offensive line has question marks. You're thin at receiver. You're thin at corner. We know your ground game is going to be really good, but are you going to be able to ground and pound your way to wins over Kalen DeBoer in Alabama for a second straight season? Are you going to be able to run willy-nilly over Oklahoma now that they have competent quarterback play this year? Are you going to be able to beat Florida on the Swamp with a run-first approach, knowing how good DJ Lackley is? Hell, can you beat Syracuse week 1? That's a losable game for you if everything goes wrong this season. We know there's a strong possibility that you may not beat Georgia this year, even though you are playing them at home. There are a lot of questions that I have about Tennessee that makes me not view them as a top 25 team this year. And it's not just Tennessee that I feel this way about. I feel the same way about Ole Miss. You are not at the level yet where you can just overcome some of the losses and departures that Tennessee has had to deal with this offseason. Now, I do like a lot of the talent that you have at linebacker, that should be the strength of your defense this year outside the defensive line. I think Deshaun Bishop and Peyton Lewis are going to have breakout seasons. They were really good when they was giving Dylan Sampson a break, but Dylan Sampson was the best player on this team last year, and he carried this offense on his back. What are the chances that Deshaun Bishop and Peyton Lewis are as good as what the SEC Offensive Player of the Year was? I'm not going to make any assumptions, but it's kind of hard to replicate the kind of season that Dylan Sampson had. It was one of, if not the best running back season in the history of this program. And your offensive line was really good run blocking, but they weren't that good from a pass pro standpoint. So there's just a lot of concerns that I have about Tennessee that scares me from viewing them as a top 25 team, but I could be wrong. And if I am wrong, I got no problem coming on here and admitting that I'm wrong, but I think it's more likely that Tennessee goes 7-5, 8-4,